Is the Russia-Ukraine conflict causing a food shortage in the U.S.? It's a very good question. And I think the answer is yes and no. So, yes, it is causing a food, some sort of shortage, a food shortage in the U.S., but no, because there are still other options, there's still other alternatives to some of these foods that we're not seeing the high levels of availability that we're used to seeing in the past. And but we do need to be mindful that the conflict between Russia and Ukraine and the negative consequences and effects that it has on the supply chain and ultimately the foods that will be available to us today, tomorrow, next week, next month, next year. If this continues and continues to go the direction that it's going now, which is not good, then we will see further food shortages. It's just as simple as that. But I don't think that right now is a time to panic. Right now is the time to prepare and get yourself and your family ready for SHTF. If and when, or when, maybe more so than if. But what's more alarming is today I was actually at the bank. I was at Bank of America and I was speaking to the mortgage lender. She was in charge of all the mortgages for this particular location. But interestingly enough, her position, she says she received what's called laser leads. And these are mortgage applications and refinance applications and lines of credit and home equity loan applications from all over the country, not just here in Atlanta. So she kind of gets a taste of the like a bigger picture of what's going on outside of just our local, our region, our area, our state. Because some mortgage providers are only licensed or they only operate in certain states, and then some will stretch maybe to their region. So, like here in Georgia, they may cover South Carolina and Florida or something like that. But she said that she had the ability to go nationwide, and she says, that the heights and the rakes that have gone up drastically so quickly are really turning off buyers after they get their pre-approvals back to see what they're approved for and, on a good faith estimate, what this payment could possibly look like for them if they were to go into a mortgage at their highest approval amount. And, for the most part, what's most discouraging to these buyers is that the rate is much higher than it was. Interestingly enough, she said she actually bought her first house in the mid to late 90s, and she got a 7% interest rate, and she was, that was perfectly normal. It was good. It was fine. And we're not at 7% yet, but she's saying that this generation of buyers isn't used to what used to be. But the biggest problem with what they receive in their approval, their pre-approval, is the rate and what the rate does to the payment, in addition to knowing that if they even stand a chance to have their offer considered or even go under contract, they're going to have to buy a house that more than likely doesn't come in as far as their contract price and the appraisal amount. Therefore, in addition to paying the higher price for the house, now paying a higher price per month based on the higher interest rate, they still have to come out of pocket cash to afford the difference between the appraised amount and what the bank is actually willing to finance. So these are just kind of parts of a whole. These are the key indicators that I was talking about before that could potentially lead to bigger problems. And beyond that, she said that Bank of America actually still offers lines of credit and home equity, or credit or loans or credit or lines of credit based off of home equity. And she said that I believe it was Wells Fargo that since the pandemic stopped doing that and they have not started back again. Whereas in this particular situation, Bank of America, where she works, stopped during the pandemic, but then started again. Here we are today. And then I think she said that Chase started again as well, but they have since pulled back. She thinks that these two banks, now Wells Fargo is a little bit of an outlier because Wells Fargo kind of does what they want to do, and we're not going to get into that here. But she thinks that if these banks are pulling back on lending against home equity with rates going up and the prices of real estate that we're seeing today, she's not very confident in the future of the market. And she honestly, like, the look on her face was extremely fearful of a coming crash, coming market correction, housing market crash, recession, just total, economic shutdown, basically. And, I think that if that occurs, then the problems that we see now, the problems that we anticipate to become worse with food shortages, are going to be accelerated. Because if we see a crash in real estate and housing, the panic is going to accelerate across the board. Correct me if you think I'm wrong, but I think if we see that, that plays such a huge factor in everyday life. It plays a huge factor in many Americans' net worth and wealth and retirement plan and monthly income, passive income through real estate, investment properties. It could potentially be a devastating blow across the board with an unexpected immediate effect on food shortages. We already have, a chicken shortage. Bird flu's wiped out a huge portion of the chicken population. Therefore, we're going to start seeing less and less in the stores as the production and supply starts to catch up with processing and distribution. And this is just what we have right now. I mean, if we see another blow in another area, I think there's a diesel fuel shortage. So with the diesel fuel shortage, then we are extremely hindering and limiting the ability for goods, particularly food, to be transported to warehouses and distribution centers, restaurants, grocery stores, so that you and I can go and buy what we need to eat, buy what we need to store, buy what we need to stockpile. With a diesel shortage, the trucks aren't, I mean, it's just not physically possible for this to continue. Therefore, we'll see a slowdown. So we've got post pandemic recovery, supply chain issues. We have Russia and Ukraine slowing down the ability for food production, fertilizer, farming. We got bird flu taking out chickens, and then you add on top of that the diesel shortage. Basically a huge crutch to transportation of these foods. This could be why we see more food shortages, and then the Fed's hiking up rates, trying to curb inflation, and this could lead to a bigger problem, because if this doesn't work, which y'all comment below and let me know if you think these rate increases are going to help with inflation. If it doesn't work, it's going to be a nightmare, because the biggest problem is going to be that we don't have enough of what we need. So inflation will just change to price increases and bidding wars, basically, because let's just say the inflation, lowers buyer sentiment, and you see less transactions. Companies start to see less revenue. They start dialing back their prices, maybe reducing their profits, trying to find ways to cut costs. That would potentially drive down these prices, but there's no way that they could, nor is there a reason why they should, if there isn't even enough of the products, the goods, the food, the milk, the eggs, the chicken, the cream cheese, the avocados, the cooking oil. If there's not enough of it already, then it doesn't matter what the rates are. It doesn't matter how much people don't want to buy. If there's not enough to go around, then they're just going to jack the price up, and it's pretty much the going to the highest bidder. So yeah, the Russia-Ukraine conflict, and its effect on food shortages, I don't think that that's really the big picture right now. It's a part of a whole, and depending on what we see in the next few days, next few weeks, maybe a month or so with these interest rates, in addition to everything else that we're fighting, and if we do see a massive diesel fuel shortage, it's going to be rough. So I hope everybody's got what they need. I hope everybody's got at least a month worth of food and supplies available to them, because we may need it sooner than later.